Welcome to my channel Karma Romance Stories. Please like, subscribe for more videos.
Have you ever discovered something so shocking that saying nothing became the smartest move? I only wanted to repair the antique clock my late wife loved. But hidden deep inside the wooden case was a tiny listening device. Someone had been hearing every conversation inside my home. I never removed it. I never called the police. I simply closed the clock and waited. 7 days later, my own son said one sentence that proved he had been listening to everything. What happened next changed our family forever. I had owned the old grandfather clock for more than 30 years. It was the first expensive thing my wife and I ever bought together after we were married. Every Sunday, she polished the wood until it shined. After she passed away, the clock became the only thing in the house that still made me feel she was close. One quiet Saturday morning, the clock suddenly stopped working. I decided to repair it myself. I carefully removed the back panel, expecting to find a broken spring or worn gear. Instead, I noticed something that should never have been there. Tucked behind the wooden frame was a tiny black device no larger than my thumb. A battery was attached with fresh tape. A small microphone pointed toward the front of the clock. Whoever placed it there wanted to hear everything said in my living room. My hands started shaking. I knew enough about electronics to understand it was not part of the clock. Someone had hidden it recently because the battery looked new. At first, I wanted to rip it out and call the police. But another thought stopped me. If someone was listening, then removing the device would warn them. I quietly put the panel back in place and acted as though I had found nothing. That evening, my son Daniel came over for dinner. He acted normal. He hugged me and asked about the clock. I smiled and told him it was still broken. He seemed strangely interested in whether I had opened the back of it. I lied and said I had not looked inside yet. The next few days, I began paying closer attention. Daniel called more often than usual. He asked strange questions about my finances. He wanted to know if I planned to sell my house. He asked whether I had changed my will. None of it felt like casual conversation. I remembered that only a few people had access to my home. My son had a spare key. My daughter visited once every few months. A neighbor watered my plants during vacations. The possibilities were few. Instead of confronting anyone, I created a plan. The following afternoon, I sat in the living room and spoke loudly while pretending to be on the phone. I said an investor had offered me a large amount of money for a piece of land I had forgotten I owned. I also mentioned that I planned to place all the paperwork inside the safe in my bedroom until the deal was complete. There was no investor. There was no land. The entire conversation was fake. 3 days later, Daniel unexpectedly arrived. He seemed nervous but tried to hide it. During dinner, he casually mentioned that maybe I should sell unused property while the market was high. I froze inside. I had never told him about any property. That was the first crack in his story. I decided to continue the test. The next evening, I pretended to speak with my lawyer about changing my will. I loudly explained that I planned to donate most of my estate to a local charity because I wanted my money to help children after I was gone. Again, the conversation was completely fake. Less than 24 hours later, Daniel came back. This time, he looked upset. Without hesitation, he asked why I would leave strangers more than your own family. I stared at him. How did you know what I discussed with my lawyer? He immediately realized his mistake. His face turned pale. He tried to laugh and claimed he was only guessing. But I already knew the truth. I calmly asked him to sit down. Then I walked to the clock. I removed the back panel and placed the tiny listening device on the table between us. The room became completely silent. Daniel could not even look at me. After several minutes, he admitted everything. Months earlier, he had fallen into serious debt after making risky investments. Creditors were demanding payment. He became desperate. Instead of asking me for help, he convinced himself that finding out about my finances secretly would protect his future inheritance. He had searched online for a listening device and installed it while helping me clean the house. Every family conversation had been recorded. Every private memory I shared about my late wife had been heard. Every phone call had been monitored. The betrayal hurt more than I could describe. I asked him one simple question. Why did you not trust me enough to ask for help? He started crying. He admitted he believed I would judge him for losing so much money. I told him the debt could have been solved. Broken trust was much harder to repair. The next morning, I contacted the authorities and reported the device. They documented everything and advised me to improve my home security. Over the following year, he proved himself through actions instead of words. He found steady work. He paid back his debts. He attended family gatherings without asking about money. He respected every boundary I set. One afternoon, I invited him into the living room. The old clock was ticking once again. I handed him the tiny listening device. Keep this, not as a memory of your mistake, but as a reminder that honesty will always be worth more than any inheritance. He nodded with tears in his eyes. The clock continued ticking. For the first time in a long while, our family finally began healing. Sometimes the greatest betrayal comes from the people we trust the most. Money can be earned again. Property can be replaced. But trust once broken takes years to rebuild. The hidden device inside my antique clock revealed more than secret conversations. It revealed the truth about fear, greed, and family. In the end, honesty became the only thing strong enough to repair what had been broken.